All right, good morning. This is Randy with some information and clarity on our standards-based grading pilot group. I'm going to jump right into it. This video is going to be meant to be used as a resource for you setting up your grade book. The first step of setting up your Infinite Campus so that you can utilize standards-based grading and give more specific feedback to students. It's going to be a learning experience, a lot of hard work, but you will grow a lot. And I appreciate your willingness to challenge yourself and to serve students. So over our team summit, we looked at communicating progress, at how we are really seeking that we can predict student success while having really accurate grades that can serve as wonderful data. It just really triggers when kids reach mastery. And so our goal is that every student, even though it won't be color coded, that students will be able to see and code their level of mastery on each standard. Okay. And so as we move forward in our ability to do that, we have to set up our Infinite Campus. And so I have teacher apprentice group, fourth period, which is called Special Topics, small group of students. And I've been experimenting with the grade book a little bit. I told these students to ignore these grades, not to worry about them because they are just practice for me right now. But what you need to do is to go into your grade book and you'll set up your categories. Your categories will be set up as standards. Let me make sure I missed on that one class. Your categories will be set up as your standards. I think these are social studies standards, just as an example. And then you'll have to weight your standards because our grade book, Infinite Campus is not set up to do standards-based grading, but that doesn't mean we can't manipulate it to do that. And that's what I've done. And so you'll have to weight your categories the correct way to make sure that they all count in the score. And I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. And so you go in, you'll add your category, you'll type the name in here, you'll select your classes that they go to. If you have multiple classes with the same, you'll just select all of them and you'll type your weight here. Okay, I've done that and I set it up with these standards from social studies. All right, and so whenever I do that, the standards, they show up here as categories. There's only two that are showing up because those are the only two that I've assessed so far. Okay, and so whenever I enter an assignment, so these are assignments that I created. You'll create an assignment. As you create your assignment, you'll do all the things you do for everything else. You'll select your category, or in this case, your standard, put in your points, and that's how it knows to code to your category. And so let's take, for instance, these first three grades. One was 100 points, 10, and 10. So this one's going to weight much more heavily on their mastery of this standard. So as I put these three grades in, it's out of 120 points for this standard. And so Olivia, in this case, has all 120 points. So she's got 100. In this case of Brooklyn, again, these scores aren't real. This isn't the student's real grades. She's struggling in all three of these assignments. This tells me that right now, at a 53.33% on this standard, Brooklyn is in remediation. She's way down here, D, F range, and so she needs some help. And so I'm not going to lie, I'd love it if we could color code these categories too. Find a way to do that. I don't know how to do that yet in Infinite Campus, or if we can. But you can now see, as we progress forward, the grades now really, really impact our understanding of what a child needs specifically. Instead of just saying, oh, over in tests and quizzes, which is 25% of your grade, your child's struggling on the test. We can now specifically pinpoint, Brooklyn needs to work on this specific standard, but this one she's fine in. And I can't ramble off what those standards actually mean off the top of my head, okay? And so you'll set your categories up as your standards. And so to make that very clear, I'm going to share this with you. Got to move this box. Well, get rid of that. I've made a standard-based grading pilot spreadsheet, and I did it by core content area. And so here's an example of language arts standards. I took all of the language arts standards, the literature standards, the informational, the writing standards. I clustered language mechanics, all those standards into one category so that you could assess those, and all the speaking, listening into one category so you could assess those. Because here's the reality. Speaking and listening and language mechanics are in service to all the other standards. Are they important? Yes. Okay, but we kind of teach those in service to lift up their ability to comprehend what they read and their ability to write. So I cluster those standards together. The last thing that I did, whenever I've done standards-based grading in the past, after a couple years, I really felt the pressure that, it is great that we have accurate data on what a kid can do, but there's still value in hard work. And so I think there should be at least a place to record where kids are working and doing the work in class. We can't count in-class practice towards mastery on this standard because it's not independently doing it, right? And that's what mastery is. But there is value in giving kids, a grade and feedback on their homework and classwork, group work. And so I just made that, in this case, that 5% out of 100% of their grade. So then what I did, I just counted all the other standards up. How many ever? I think there were 31, 32 in literacy ELA. And I divided the remaining 95%, and I divided it by how many standards I had to get 2.96. Okay. And so I'm just counting all these standards equally. All right. But so you would go into your grade book, if you're a language arts teacher, you'd put your standards and you would weight it as 2.96% of the grade. As you do all your reading literature, now a child, instead of getting 25% of their grade from tests and quizzes, their grade is about 30% on their ability to understand literature and comprehend it. About 30% on informational, about 30% on writing. Remaining is these support standards, and then of course 5% for practice and hard work. Okay, you add all those up, it doesn't quite hit 100%, and that's okay. Won't mess up Infinite Campus. That's what's left over. So in math, same process. There's standards there. 5% is for practice and hard work. I took all the remaining standards and divided it by how many ever there were by 95%. So these would code. You'd put every one of these categories in, and you would weight it accordingly. Okay. Same thing with social studies, and I can't, for some reason, it won't let me reach here, science. So I did all those for you to see. So I want to be very honest. Standards-based grading is going to be an incredible experience where you really grow in your ability to give feedback. Our grade book becomes so much more meaningful. I appreciate you all because this is going to be hard work. When you go in to create your categories for the first time, it's going to be a little bit more painstaking than what we have done traditionally. It's going to take you a while to do these. And so I don't mind sitting down with you, doing some of this work with you. I want to be in the trenches and supporting my teachers. You all are amazing folks. I appreciate you taking the time to do all this legwork up front. Okay. And here's another reality. I want to be very honest and don't want to mislead anybody. The other part of the hard work is this. When you create a test, you can't just go in. If you test 6 standards, you can't just go in and put one grade in the Infinite Campus and count it because you have to put in 6 different grades if it's 6 different standards. Yes, that is another painstaking process of standards-based grading, but your feedback is so much more powerful. Okay, so I want to show you an example. We looked at these from Team Summit, teacher that I worked with in the past. So you create your test, you could have a little symbol there of what standard it aligns to. Okay, so you have goal clarity built into your test. And then whenever you go to analyze your test, you have a task analysis. You grade it, but then you have the students do this task analysis and analyze their mastery towards each standard, correct total, and they found their percentage. Then as a teacher, you could take this sheet, do multi-scoring. You could pop in the grades from here into your Infinite Campus. So there are ways to get savvy with this to make it less painstaking. But the reality is there is hard work. That's the opportunity cost to do standards-based grading. So I'm going to keep this video short. I won't answer all of your questions now, but I wanted to give you something that you could go back and watch multiple times on your own, taking your own time, and know that I'm more than willing to meet with groups of you in my office, showcase things one-on-one. We'll have a ton of questions that arise from this, and I will add follow-up discussions and clarity around the standards-based grading pilot group. All right. I appreciate you all. Thank you all very much. And it's about time for me to stop the video anyway. Have a great day.